outside or in transition where he's extremely dangerous and explosive. Speaking of explosive and in transition, you got to talk about Terrence Davis at Ole Miss, who exploded in the second half against Auburn. Much of his work in transition, so powerful, avoids the charge extremely well, and clearly one of the most improved players in this SEC conference.
Averaging nearly 14 a night and coming off a career-high 26 points and an unbelievable come-from-behind victory against the Auburn Tigers. LSU in purple, Ole Miss in white. It'll be Saiz against the Aussie, Dwop Reith. And Reith gets his paws on it. The LSU Tigers have the ball first. We're underway here in Oxford. Starting five for the Tigers includes Reith and Blakeney, Sampson, Sims, and the freshman Skylar Mays. Blakeney up top, guarded by Davis. Here's Mays, trouble with the handle. Finds Blakeney, a deep two on the way, nothing but net for Antonio Blakeney. The Rebels, we mentioned Terrence Davis. Sebastian Saiz has been a double-double machine. Burnett and Davis compose of the backcourt, and Hyman is a really good offensive rebounder. Here is Davis coming off that career-high performance. Blakeney, the sophomore, one of the top scorers in the Southeastern Conference. Little weave action up top, back into the hands of Blakeney.
Yeah, LSU likes to do that weave just to get the defense moving a little bit so they can get open lanes just like that.
Blakeney on an air ball. Here's Davis, full throttle all the way. He is a runaway locomotive, Dane.
And it's so tough because you say get back on defense, get your feet set, and take the charge, but you're backpedaling the entire time, and Davis just slivers past you.
That'll be a goaltend, as Hyman got it on the way down.
When Davis gets a defensive rebound, he has a green light to take it all the way. And you see LSU just can't get back or get set, similar to what Auburn was unable to do in the last game, especially in that second half comeback for Ole Miss.
Saiz posting up. And now a throw into backcourt, and that'll be a violation. A turnover to LSU. The Rebels led by the Mississippi native Andy Kennedy, now in his 11th year as the Ole Miss head coach. A couple of NCAA tournaments under his belt, and twice named the SEC Coach of the Year. Great shooter back in his day at UAB. Offensive rebound, LSU. Normally that's the forte of Ole Miss. Here's Tyree. Finds a teammate in the corner on a three, and knocking it down is one of the top scorers in the league, DeAndre Burnett, averaging 16 and a half a night.
What you like to see there for Ole Miss is just the confidence that Burnett shot it with. Got his feet set, catch, and shoot. A guy that has not been shooting very well as of late.
Burnett picks up the foul as you take a look at Johnny Jones, the former player, assistant coach, and now in his 5th year as the head coach of his alma mater. And a tough year for LSU, trying to snap an 11-game losing streak. That'll help. Skylar Mays, the 6'4" freshman, on the slam. 4 points for Mays at a Finley Prep in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, a city that produces so many Division I players. Wide open three. In and out. Saiz boards it. Has it stripped and scooped up by LSU's Wade Sims. Here's Blakeney in the front court. Blakeney slashes, fires, and drops the teardrop in. He's got 4, and LSU is up 3.
LSU is a team that's not going to settle from the perimeter. They do most of their damage inside the arc by attacking that rim.
Saiz has a green light from 3, although they'd rather have him shooting inside. There's a guy who shoots inside almost every time out. Terrence Davis, again, such a force on the drive.
Well, between Tyree and Davis, I thought they settled early for those perimeter shots that LSU was daring them to shoot. Davis certainly instructed to take the ball to the rack. That's where he's best at.
And now a steal by Davis. And is pushed out of bounds by LSU. Second foul on the Tigers, the first on Sims. Some guys named Bradshaw that just have a motor that's unmatched by anybody else on the floor. That guy is Terrence Davis.
on your LSU, even though you're playing zone, you still have man-to-man principles. You have to guard the ball, and if you get beat off the dribble, somebody in that zone has to step up. That was too clear of a pass.
There's Saiz on that green light three and shows he can shoot from distance.
He'll take one or two a game, but I can guarantee you he's going to take a second one if he makes one. The big man's going to say, feed me the rock. I got another one.
Sometimes they call that fool's gold. Sampson skips it into the corner to Blakeney on a three, and those two guys have really been playing well. Sampson's been a scorer to complement Blakeney, and that time he set up his teammate.
They're different players, but if you look at the elevation that Blakeney has on his jump shot, it'll remind Ole Miss fans a little bit on Stephen Moody. I mean, a shorter player, but can rise over any defender and get a clean look at the basket. Speaking of clean looks, Terrence Davis just can't be stopped inside the lane. He should not shoot another outside jump shot until LSU proves they can keep him out of the paint.
And as you mentioned, you know it's coming. He's going to power dribble in the lane, come right at you. People still don't stop it. Alley-oop pass deflected away. Ole Miss on a steal. Here comes Davis ahead to Neal. Neal takes it strong, swatted out of bounds. And that'll bring us to our first media timeout.
Skylar Mays is going to get a clean look at this dunk here with the defender turning his back. And then Terrence Davis says, you got a dunk? I'll up you one. Get to the hole.
For the ages, well over 60 points in 20 minutes of action. They were down 23 points at one point. Auburn was dominating the basketball game. And then that man, Terrence Davis, all 26 points in the second half. And yeah, he should be happy. Ole Miss with a victory 90-84. Look at what they did in the second half. 63 points in 20 minutes of action. 21 of 23 free throws. That was clutch. And again, Ole Miss would go on to win the game, even up their conference mark at 6-6. Mike Morgan, Dane Bradshaw, and Dane, you never know what game is going to spark a magical run for a team. Ole Miss is sitting there, their RPIs in the 50s. Conference mark could be above 500 with a win today. What could that win mean long term?
It shows their ability to take care of business and win the games they're supposed to win. Yes, they'd love to have games like Baylor, Virginia Tech, and Creighton back, but that helps them pass the eye test a little bit with their strength of schedule, which we'll get into later. But the fact that you can beat a team like Auburn and show that comeback speaks volumes for this Ole Miss team. Very talented, but at the same time, everything you did against Auburn, if you don't take care of business against LSU, that goes out the window.
If you're wondering why the score magically changed by a point while we were away, they took a look at Skylar Mays. His shot is outside jumper. They ruled it a 3 instead of a 2. So an extra point for LSU as we're tied up at 12. Neal, who had a great second half in that game as well. It wasn't all Terrence Davis, and he continues his torrid shooting.
He's shooting over 40% from three, and he's just much more comfortable playing off the ball. They thought he could play some point guard for him, but you just can't be stubborn with that. His niche is catch and shoot.
Transfer from New Mexico, where he played for his dad, who's a coach. And meanwhile, you got a guard, number 2, Antonio Blakeney, who already has ignited for 11.
Terrence Davis has been lost defensively a couple times, whether it's man-to-man or zone. And that time, you have to know if Blakeney's on your side and in your corner, be aware of where that shooter is.
Neal a little loose with the handle, almost lost it. Burnett, drive and kick. And a whistle on Ole Miss. They're going to call it a walk.
You got one of the top scorers in the SEC in your corner. Terrence Davis is just sucked into the middle there, and it's way too late before he realizes Blakeney has it. Blakeney's not going to hesitate. He likes to hit you from 2 and drive it in, but he is certainly capable of knocking down that outside shot.
It's been the Blakeney and Mays show for LSU thus far, and really LSU only has so many scoring weapons. There's another shot by Skylar Mays and another 3 for LSU. And they only shoot 34% from downtown of the year. Not exactly a great number, but now Mays has 7.
LSU, a team that's really struggled to get off to good starts, especially in conference play, but this is now the second game in a row, including Arkansas in their previous game, where they've been able to overcome that and be hot from the start.
Urbanavicius was the last one who touched it, according to the officials, so it will be LSU basketball.
Ole Miss is going to go back to their man-to-man. That zone defense just had too many holes in it. Back-to-back times for the Tigers.
This is Jalen Patterson, a veteran, to Blakeney. Blakeney does what he does best, just takes it strong. And he can be a scoring machine. LSU's now on an 8-0 run.
We saw a 44-point performance by Sindarius Thornwell. It took 4 overtimes.
That's
but
right.
At this pace, Blakeney might have this thing before the end of regulation.
Burnett on a deep 2. That's the thing about LSU. You know, you look at the record, 1-11 in conference play, and I think a lot of people would say, well, they don't have any talent. Talk to the opposing coaches. They don't take this game lightly when they play LSU. There are some athletes out there and some scores for the men in purple.
And they've got star power, as we've seen with Antonio Blakeney, a guy with the ability to take over the game that you just can't coach against.
Shot clock down to 2. A deep 3 on the way at the buzzer. No. Tapped around, and that's Brandon Edelstone, who just kind of kept it alive and banked it in on the tip.
Yeah, give credit to Aaron Epps there, too. He really boxed out. You can box out young players on the offensive side of the ball to create extra opportunities for your team, which is what Epps did.
Burnett on a 3. Got it. DeAndre Burnett. You do not want him to heat up if you're LSU. They're tough enough to guard without a hot Burnett.
We're going to see some open shots for Ole Miss. LSU really struggles defensively to close out, get stops, whether it's zone or man. And so a lot of this will be on whether Ole Miss can just convert the open looks.
Blakeney sets up a 3. Too strong. Burnett tracks down the rebound. Rebels down by 2. There's a 3 on the way. Yes, spins in for the senior Rasheed Brooks. Baseline jumper too strong from Aaron Epps. And the Rebs will set it up in the front court. Burnett steps into a 3. And Ole Miss going to do a little zone here. Blakeney tried to dribble right through it. Patterson left alone on a 3. Nice box out there by Brooks. Here comes Burnett. Urbanavicius around the horn. Neal on an NBA 3. Too strong. Epps skies to the rebound and lost it. Scooped up by LSU. Mays on a run out. Finds Blakeney on the deuce.
He took his time. I'm not sure he knew Blakeney was down there snowbirding, but he gets the assist anyway. Pass first point guard.
Snowbirding, cherry picking, either way. It's an easy bucket for Blakeney, who's had a torrid first half. He's got 15 points.
Hey, all the best scorers I ever played with, they were always the first one down the court waving their hand. There's a reason they get the high points per game.
1 point game coming up on the 10-minute mark of the first half. Mays, rocker step. And goes inside, gets it on the return. Big man shooting a 3, that's Edelstone. Here comes Neal. You can hear the LSU coaches to our right yelling, get back, get back. Again, as Dane mentioned, defense has been a major liability for the Tigers. Burnett on a 3, rims out.
And even though they've hit 5 threes, the Rebels are doing what LSU wants them to do. They've taken 12 threes out of their 17 attempts.
Rebels on a 2-3 zone. Mays on another 3. And both these teams have fallen in love with the three-point shot. Neal wheels and deals. Nifty shot by Cullen Neal. Baseline jumper is true for Aaron Epps.
This is like a pickup game, watching it back and forth. I've seen 2 or 3 players already look at their benches, pulling their jerseys, saying, "Coach, give me one. I need a sub."
Meanwhile, we are well overdue for the under 12 media timeout, and we'll get it right here. There's a foul on the drive by DeAndre Burnett. But what a first half thus far for Antonio Blakeney.
We had him in our star watch to start the game, and there's a reason for it. Antonio Blakeney, one of the most explosive scorers. Doesn't matter if it's outside or to the rack.
Toko Blakeney by Belk, the home of modern Southern style. Visit belk.com today. Mike Morgan alongside Dane Bradshaw here at the beautiful pavilion in its second year of existence. Valentine's Day special, and Valentine's Day has been good to the Ole Miss Rebels in the past. A memorable game 10 years ago on Valentine's Day featured Ole Miss winning on a buzzer beater. And they trailed much of this game to LSU. There you see big baby Glenn Davis and a steal. And would eventually get into the hands of Abernathy, setting up Clarence Sanders on a 3-ball from the corner. And Ole Miss would go on to win it 71-70. Andy Kennedy said, "Get back here, timeout, come on, don't screw it up."
That was a big-time shot and will live in Ole Miss Rebel history. That's where it all began. That was Coach Kennedy's first year, Todd Abernathy's senior year, where this rebuilding of the program began. And Todd Abernathy was the leader of that team, the point guard, and now on this staff, of course, after spending several years overseas in Holland.
And you guys go back a little bit, don't you?
He was playing for a team called the Matrix Magic. I was playing for
my favorite Holland team.
A less intimidating team called the Den Helder Seals. And we split head-to-head, and so one of our 5 wins on that season did come against Todd's team, but nevertheless.
When those two teams meet, you can throw away the records, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't think we got any video footage you guys can find of those.
The old Bradshaw-Abernathy battles. Davis on a pull-up. Tell you what, Todd Abernathy's become a fan favorite, now an assistant coach, and does a whale of a job here in Oxford.
And that was when they shocked everybody by winning the SEC West in Coach Kennedy's first year.
Talk about a fine introduction to the Southeastern Conference. Air ball thrown up there by Sampson. Shot clock down to 7 for Patterson. I don't know if they recognize it. Reith better. Reith throws up a prayer as the buzzer sounds. Don't think that's how they drew it up, but they'll take the bucket.
He showed no signs of hearing his coach yelling at him of how much time was left, but he had it the whole time.
Ole Miss has missed 5 out of its last 6 shots, and LSU has taken advantage, up by 3. Saiz backing in on Reith, splits a double, throws up the one-hander, no. And LSU clears it into the hands of Patterson.
With all the threes Ole Miss has been jacking, that's just the second post touch for Saiz. LSU has shown they're going to be bringing a guard down for that double team, try to get it out of his hands.
Dangerous pass stolen away by Ole Miss.
Watch out.
Look out, Davis. No one's going to stop him with a full head of steam. 9 points now for Davis. Sampson, another terrible pass. Here comes the Rebels, and they almost gave it right back. Davis drives. Look out! Oh my goodness, it drops! And the foul.
Terrence Davis settled for a 3 early in this game, and since then, Andy Kennedy said, no more threes, take it to the rack. And he's being rewarded, whether it's transition or getting the and one.
Kentucky Wildcats try to keep pace for the top spot in the SEC when they battle Missouri right here on the SEC Network. Kentucky victorious earlier today, avenging a loss to Tennessee back in Knoxville. They won today at Rupp Arena. Nothing says I love you on Valentine's Day better than a three-pointer.
Well, these are the 2 worst teams in the SEC at defending the 3, so no surprise that you're getting a lot of three-point looks. But even though Ole Miss has made 5 of them, I think this is the style of play LSU's okay with. And outside of Terrence Davis, the rest of the Rebels have really settled for beyond the arc look. And that's tempting because LSU is going to leave you open, but it's in LSU's advantage to make this a three-point contest so that they can stay in this game.
Both teams identical field goal percentages right now, 12 of 23 from the field, and then, as we just alluded to, several three-pointers. This guy at the line, he's best when he's not shooting threes, when he just puts his head down and takes it strong, and that's what he just did, a chance for a three-point play here. And that's something that Ole Miss does very well, 75% on the year. That's the second best mark in the SEC behind Vanderbilt.
I know Terrence Davis isn't the athlete that De'Aaron Fox is at Kentucky, but I think you have to put Davis up there in the top 3 to 5 players in terms of transition basketball.
Right.
This guy cannot be stopped when he gets the ball in his hands.
Certainly more intimidating, physically built like a football player, and he was a really good one in high school, a wide receiver who got some D1 offers to play football. Three on the way, knocked down by the talented freshman Brian Tyree, and a timeout called by Johnny Jones.
Now this is a three that you just can't pass up. It's a good look. It's in transition. You pass up 1-3 for a better three. That's an unselfish play by DeAndre Burnett. And then Brian Tyree, a little bit up and down this year. He's coming off that ACL injury, but a bright future for this Ole Miss Rebel team with this freshman point guard leading the charge.
Ole Miss right now on an 8-0 run as we have 6 minutes left to go in the first half. The Rebels with a chance to go 7-6 in conference. LSU trying to get rid of one of the ugliest streaks in school history, 11 consecutive losses. And I don't think anybody would have expected that. It was a tough year last year. They had the #1 pick in the draft, failed to make the NCAA tournament. Now this year, just trying to get something positive to build on.
And then you lose Tim Quarterman as well, and Keith Hornsby, which really hurt them as much as anything last year. With Hornsby going out with the injury, he was your tough guy, he was your leader. And so I don't think there's any doubt about it that there has been some carryover in terms of frustration by not making the NCAA tournament last year. That's made this year sting just a little bit more. But on the bright side, there's a lot of really good young talent on this team that should only get better throughout their careers.
This is part of that young talent. The sophomore Blakeney rattles home another three. He has got 18 points in the half.
That's just shooting fish in the barrel for Blakeney. I mean, that's practice for him. That's like him just getting extra shots up at night with the way Ole Miss is leaving him wide open.
Tyree on a tough pull-up. And the rebound pulled down by the 6'10 junior from Perth, Australia, Dwap Reed. LSU with a little bit of a pipeline the last couple of years from down under, including Ben Simmons. Another turnover. That's 4 out of the last 5 possessions. LSU is just giving it away. And this is something that if you've watched LSU basketball, it's been the poorest defense and it's been the sloppiness on offense.
Sims is coming out of the game because of the bad decision. They put Edelstone back in the game because he was a quicker decision maker against this zone. And when you have Blakeney spotted up on the wing, Ole Miss is sinking down low when the ball gets into the middle of the paint. So the open shot is to your shooter. Open pass is to your shooter and Blakeney.
Davis leading the way with 11. That time they got him. They baited him into a three. Reith ahead of everybody. And a chance at the free throw line upcoming for Edelstone. Second foul on Terrence Davis.
Terrence Davis, the super athlete, stays out of foul trouble with the knee to the head of Reith.
Yeah, Terrence Davis, who had that career game, 26 points. We were at shoot-around talking to Coach Kennedy before that game. He said, yeah, I'm not going to start Terrence Davis. I said, well, why not? He said, well, number one, shot selection. Sometimes he takes some poor shots. Number two, he gets into foul trouble too much. And now he feels as if Terrence is learning, being more mature about that. We have to sit down for a while now with that second foul, but if he can put those two parts of his game together, we might be looking at an all-SEC performer next year.
And the thing you live with is the aggressiveness and then wanting to play hard the entire time. Georgia has the same issue with Yontae Nate. And he should be at a point in his career where he can stay out of foul trouble a little bit better. But you appreciate the aggressiveness. You just have to make sure they're smart enough to know that, look, it's best for the team for you to let one go every once in a while.
Frank Martin runs into that at South Carolina with Chris Silva, who's a tremendous player in the paint, rebounder, defender, but he is a foul magnet. And every time you watch a Gamecock game, it's Silva committing a foul, sitting right next to Frank Martin on the bench. Some players just, it's an underrated part of the game to be able to know when to be aggressive, how to be aggressive, and how to stay out of foul trouble. Reith to Sampson up top. Around the horn, into the hands of Blakeney. Stop and pop. Jump shot is good. This is one Antonio Blakeney might want to send to the NBA scouts. 20 points in the first half.
LSU will take that matchup all day long. Nothing against Furmanovicius, but he's closing out in that zone. It becomes a one-on-one opportunity with Antonio Blakeney.
Nice shot by Saiz in the paint. Sebastian Saiz, he of the 26 career double-doubles. Baseline drive, hanging and firing it off the window on Valentine's Day. A little kiss from Brandon Sampson. He's just got pushed from behind by DeWop Reith. You know, you and I get a chance to see the officials kind of go over the rules at the beginning of the year. What DeWop Reith just did is a point of emphasis, to say the least. On Thursday, our women's hoops doubleheader is another good one. The South Carolina Gamecocks host Vanderbilt at the Colonial Life Arena at 7. And then we'll take it to Oxford for Auburn and Ole Miss, both games streaming live on the ESPN app. Now around the Southeastern Conference, 3 teams in the AP Top 25. Kentucky winning today, Florida over Auburn. South Carolina, ranked number 21, had a tough quadruple overtime loss to Alabama, then bounced back with a win against Mississippi State. How about Sindarius Thornwell? We'll talk more about this later, but Sindarius Thornwell right now seems to be the favorite for the SEC Player of the Year.
I think as long as his team keeps track with Kentucky, they don't have to win the SEC title, but as long as they don't just completely fall off and there's not that great separation between team 1, 2, and 3, I don't see how anybody passes Thornwell at this point. And it goes to show you how you can separate yourself as a defender, because that's the big thing. There's other scorers in this league, but Thornwell has proven to be the lockdown defender that everybody would love to have on their team.
Leads the league in steals. And with all due respect to Malik Monk, who is an NBA talent, and a lot of fun to watch, you know, Kentucky is still awfully good without Malik Monk. I don't know if South Carolina is that kind of team without Sindarius Thornwell.
And I think one of the more underrated coaching jobs is what Frank Martin has done in terms of crisis management. As we see Skylar Mays get the layup. When Thornwell got the suspension, it could have been a huge distraction for the team, but they just went about their business. They went 3-3, and if anything, it helped his case for Player of the Year to show how valuable he was to his team. Once he got eligible, he just picked up where he left off. Shouldn't say eligible, come back from suspension, rather.
Whistle down low, that'll be on Blakeney.
It's a bright spot for LSU. Skylar Mays always looking ahead for his open teammate, but if they don't stop you, take it to the rack, young fella.
7th team foul on the Tigers spells a 1-and-1 for Ole Miss. And Marcanvis Hyman at the free throw line.
And Mike, isn't this the exact type of game that Coach Kennedy told us he was afraid of? You know, he said he was very nervous about this game, and it's because of the track meet type aspect that could occur with LSU, because they want to play up and down this way. And the fact that Antonio Blakeney already has 20 points, I'm sure shows that Ole Miss is not executing the scouting report nearly the way they plan to.
Yeah, Blakeney in the last 5 halves has been averaging over 15 points a half. I mean, he's been a red-hot basketball player. Now, next Tuesday, We'll have a big one for you. 13th ranked Kentucky tries to keep pace for the top spot in the SEC when they battle Mizzou right here on the SEC Network. You got to give Kim Anderson and company credit. They have really played hard throughout the year. They're usually outmanned. They've picked up a couple of conference wins, and you know when you go out there, you're going to have to bring your best because every now and then Mizzou will sneak up and bite you. And of course, Kentucky, one of the best 1-2 punches. They happen to be freshmen, but Monk and Fox don't play like it. Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox, maybe the fastest point guard in all of college basketball. And when Malik Monk is on, I don't know if there's a better shooter in college basketball.
And I know this might not be the best team Coach Calipari's had during his era, but I can't find a more exciting team because when these two guys are on and when Fox is healthy and in his 100% shape and form, that's some of the best basketball you can see.
The official review is they're trying to find out who the foul was on in that last play. They actually whistled Antonio Blakeney with the foul, which would have only been his first foul. This is kind of where we are in today's day and age of college basketball as we take another look at the play and see.
It's a pretty big shove by Blakeney on Hyman.
First foul is a foul on two Blakeney. After that is a contact technical foul on the Ole Miss player. So we'll shoot 1 and 1 with no lineup for the first foul. 2 shots.
Mike Morgan's getting the official explanation here. Mike, what'd you find out?
I just got a little explanation there by it was John Hampton who came up and actually spoke to me. You have 2 fouls here. You've got the foul on Blakeney, which we alluded to earlier and saw, and then you have the retaliation, a flagrant foul on the other end. So you're going to see a 1-and-1 for Ole Miss, and then you're going to see the flagrant foul shots after that for LSU. And the flagrant, by the way, is on Hyman. So they got tussled, little tempers flaring, a little back and forth, and the officials, now more than ever, if there's any type of exchange like that, they're going to take a look at it. And the old expression, tape don't lie, Dane Bradshaw. And Hyman knocks down the first on the 1-and-1.
This isn't the old days where you can get away with some of that. I mean, gosh, it's I think there'd be some old retired players that would look back and say, that's a foul?
Right.
Much less a flagrant.
You see, you see the push in the back by Blakeney, and that's Hyman. Watch that left arm. I don't know. I mean, that looked pretty harmless.
Yeah.
I was surprised by that call. It's Skylar Mays.
If anything, Blakeney's foul, it wasn't flagrant, but that was more vicious than the retaliation.
2 for 2 for Skylar Mays.
You see more contact than that on a box out, just trying to get a guy off.
LSU basketball up by 4. Mays kills a dribble, finds Blakeney up top. Shot clock under 10. Blakeney on the drive. Blakeney put that one on a tee. 2 on the shot clock. They see it, miss it anyway. Follow is good, plus the foul. Just how they drew it up.
A similar start for LSU. I mean, they came out strong against Arkansas, and here they are competing against a very good Ole Miss team. They're winning the hustle plays. They're getting offensive rebounds, contributions from everybody while still riding the back of Antonio Blakeney.
First foul on Saiz. And the three-point play is complete for Aaron Epps, the 6'10 junior. LSU was actually a 5-point possession when you throw in the flagrant free throws. And that's the largest lead now for the Tigers, up 7. Saiz quickly doubled, goes to the hook shot. Not good, and the rebound weak side by Sampson. Brandon Sampson has really elevated his play, averaging 16.5 the last 4 games. Under 2 minutes to go first half. And LSU sitting on 45 points.
Skylar Mays has to keep going there. I mean, he had Burnett running around in circles. Keep attacking.
Shot clock at 4. Sampson going to have to hoist one up there. Front iron, rebound fought for, and finally tracked down by Saiz. Here comes Burnett, 1-on-2. It's a bit of a force, but he'll get it to go off the window. 10 points for DeAndre Burnett. Young man out of Miami Gardens, Florida. And that's going to be an illegal screen on Epps. He nearly took Burnett's head off. Second foul on Epps.
Nice job by Burnett. Fighting through this screen and getting clipped. Not being afraid of the contact.
Burnett swings it over. Mid-range jump shot is good by Marcanvis Hyman. Kind of a lost player in this whole equation. Doesn't put up big numbers, but Hyman gives you a lot of different things. Decent shooter, good rebounder, very aggressive defender.
Whew, man, he's tough.
Antonio Blakeney has come up with every shot in the books in this first half to the tune of 22 points.
I mean, man, he's hit the open threes. He's hit the pull-up jump shots, and that time was fading away to his left.
Five-second differential, game clock to shot clock. Burnett bumped and fouled by Edelstone with 5 seconds to shoot. The second foul on Edelstone, so he just sent the second best free throw shooter in the SEC to the free throw line. DeAndre Burnett, 89.6%. Canyon Berry, he of the underhand variety, shooting 89.7. They got a little individual battle going on for that free throw crown.
Oh, and how big were his 10 for 10 free throws the other night against Auburn, where they just dominated the Tigers at the free throw line.
Burnett with a solid half, 11 points, 4 assists. State of Florida's been good. To Andy Kennedy, remember Stephon Moody? It was so exciting the last couple of years. Got him out of Kissimmee. 10.2 on the clock.
Right now, if I'm Skylar Mays, it's just a dribble straight to the right sideline with a handoff for Antonio Blakeney. You got to get Blakeney the ball.
Mays with 5. Mays takes it strong. No. Saiz gets it, and that's how half number 1 will come to a close. And not a bad half for the Bayou Bengals. Up by 3 as we now go to the college basketball halftime report. Peter Burns, Tony Dell, Pat Bradley, take it away. Entertaining first half and a high-scoring one at that. LSU putting 47 on the board, leading Ole Miss 47-44. A great night thus far for Antonio Blakeney, the sophomore out of Sarasota, Florida. Dane Bradshaw. Always a great night when you're working with Dane Bradshaw. I'm Mike Morgan. Great to be with you. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Both these teams would love a victory for different reasons. Ole Miss, they're actually thinking about NCAA tournament right about now. LSU thinking about just getting a win. Antonio Blakeney, however, he might be thinking about a career high. He was terrific in the first half. Don't go Blakeney, my heart, Dane Bradshaw.
I love it. He's breaking the heart of the Ole Miss Rebels. We knew we were going to be entertained by one of the top scorers in the SEC, and Antonio Blakeney has not disappointed. He's been sensational. That was the first bucket of the game right there. Undisciplined defense by Ole Miss allowed Blakeney to get comfortable, and he took it from there and did not slow down whatsoever.
Blakeney, whose career high is 32 last year against Florida, at 31 at Kentucky. He's actually been a much better player on the road this year for whatever reason. It's hard to really understand, but as you can see, well within reach of a career high performance, and they might need it to knock off Ole Miss, who is a tremendous second half team. Just ask the Auburn Tigers, who blew a 23-point lead in the second half thanks to an Ole Miss incredible 63-point second half.
And you mentioned it, Mike. This is an Ole Miss team that's playing for something. They might not be in Joe Lunardi's bubble yet, but they think they can get there with some quality wins. And a loss against LSU at the bottom of the SEC would be too damaging for them to have to overcome.
Yeah, this time of year, it's not just about quality wins for bubble teams. You can't afford a bad loss. And by definition, this would be a bad loss. Offensive rebound. LSU gets a fresh 30 seconds. Blakeney working on Terrence Davis. It was a mismatch in the first half, but he missed that one short. Davis on a blow by. Davis misses the finger roll. He got to the bucket again, but that time missed it from close range. Reith has been quiet, and Reith with a turnover.
And that's something the young partner, Skylar Mays, is going to have to do. Let the big man get his feet set before you put him in harm's way there. That's asking too much.
And Dane, I'm guessing you were a better player at Thompson Bowling Arena. Most players are better at home, but for whatever reason, Blakeney, the numbers are significantly better on the road.
Now, I never had those type of numbers home or away, but I actually prefer the road. I kind of like the us against the world mentality. And, you know, at home, if you miss a shot, the whole crowd's going, oh, and you feel like you're disappointing everybody. On the road, I preferred the hecklers and everybody getting on me and kind of.
They heckled you pretty well.
Yeah, I was easy picking.
You were a prime target, my man. Sampson on a crossover, splits a double, takes it in the trees, missed it short. Saiz top floor for the rebound. Here come the Rebels off and running. Hyman to Burnett. Hyman on the return. Saiz doubled and then threw it right into the waiting hands of Skylar Mays. Mays has played well tonight.
LSU has not had many stops. Look, they've given up 44 points. One thing they have done well is double team Saiz in the post.
Blakeney dumps it down to Reith. Not a good performance by Reith thus far. And Epps picks up the loose change and banks it home.
That has to be Saiz's rebound, though. I mean, he's the senior leader right now. You can't allow those 50-50 balls to go in favor of the Tigers.
Burnett on a quick trigger three. A long pass ahead to Blakeney, and he beat everybody down the floor. Burnett did everything he could just to foul him. That's the second foul on DeAndre Burnett, and Antonio Blakeney trying to add to his 22-point total. This really has become his team. Obviously last year it was Ben Simmons' team and it was his show. Sometimes that really overshadowed Antonio Blakeney, but he has by far and away become the #1 option for LSU.
This is a big-time carryover for how he ended last season. Towards the start of the year, you wondered, you know, I don't know if this kid was worth all the hype. But then as the season went on, he got better, even though the team didn't meet expectations in terms of making the NCAA tournament. Blakeney ended the year on a high note personally, and he has carried that over into this year.
Ole Miss has started the second half on a low note, 0 for 4 with a turnover. And a second turnover. Saiz had it stripped away. Mays full throttle. Mays missed it, but there's the follow by Aaron Epps. 9-point lead for LSU, and that is the largest. And a timeout called by Andy Kennedy.
Reason to feel good about the future of the LSU Tigers. Skylar Mays at point guard. When he gets that ball and he pushes in transition, he's a pass-first guy, but if the defense doesn't stop him, keep taking it to the hole. LSU, inside shots lead to inside rebounds.
Next Tuesday, we'll have a big one for you. The 13th ranked Kentucky Wildcats, fresh off a win against Tennessee tonight. They'll try to keep pace for the top spot in the Southeastern Conference race when they battle Missouri right here on the SEC Network. That'll be at 9 o'clock. Great race this year, a three-dog race between the Wildcats, the Gators, and the Gamecocks. And as you can see, Florida already victorious. Another 100-point game for Mike White and company as they blow out the Auburn Tigers. They blew out our scoreboard too, as they've been so hot of late.
Yeah, Auburn's second half defense continues to be an issue. Florida with over 60 in the second half, 114 points, a school record. The Florida Gators, though, I mean, they don't ever want to give up 95 points, but it's nice to prove and show that you can win in more than one way. And they showed they can prove in an up-tempo style of play, helter-skelter, the way Auburn wanted to play that game.
Igbunu went out of that game in the first half with a knee injury, did not return. Certainly they'll be holding their breath a little bit, as that's their rim protector and a very valuable part of that Gators lineup for Mike White. Aaron Epps just picked up his third foul. Meanwhile, LSU winning the battle on the offensive glass. 9 offensive rebounds, 11 second chance points. Usually that's what Ole Miss does to its opponents. Sampson put it in high gear and drew the foul. Brandon Sampson, a sophomore, hometown product out of Baton Rouge, a city that produces so many great basketball players. Just a sophomore at 6'5", 195 pounds.
Aaron Epps coming out of the game, but he's been an unsung hero in this game. I mean, this guy averages 6 and 3, and right now he's on his way to a double-double. 9 points, 10 rebounds. Usually it's Sebastian Saiz we're talking about, Mr. Double-Double for Ole Miss, who averages a double-double. But Epps has been winning that battle quietly down low in the paint. Saiz getting a breather right now, but he's going to have to bring his A game, even if he doesn't get the touches that he's accustomed to, given the way LSU's playing defense.
Foul on Sims of LSU. That's 3. And the 6'6" freshman. Baseline jumper is good. About time for Terrence Davis to start stepping up his game. He has been the guy for Ole Miss of late. Davis 13 points, 3 rebounds. Here the LSU bench yelling shot clock, shot clock. Hot potato finally picked up by Hyman. This is Neal, crosses over, dump down pass, and there's Davis again, a hoop and harm for the 6'4" sophomore.
Terrence Davis gets the feed from Cullen Neal. He is strong as an ox. Contact doesn't bother him at all. Trying to lead the Rebels on a comeback over the LSU Tigers.
Vanderbilt at 7 Eastern time, and then we'll take it to the Pavilion in Oxford right here for Auburn and Ole Miss. Mike Morgan alongside Dane Bradshaw at the beautiful Pavilion. One of the many touches to this arena. You see that wall, those are all All-Americans at Ole Miss, and Terrence Davis would love to be an All-American in his career. This is something Andy Kennedy has talked to us about in recent times, about the fact that in his 11 years, Dane, he's always had the guy, Abernathy, Warren, Henderson, Summers, Stephon Moody the last couple of years. These were guys that could take over games late. He was telling us he didn't have that guy this year. A game would be close, and everybody would kind of look at each other and say, I don't want to take the last shot. Terrence Davis is becoming that guy. Todd Abernathy knows a thing or two about being the guy.
Abernathy was the guy, so was the rest of that list, but Stephen Moody was the man. I mean, this guy was sensational, so to follow that up is going to be extremely tough, but Terrence Davis doing his best. Doesn't have the same repertoire in terms of his scoring ability. I don't want to call him one-dimensional, but relies heavily on the transition game, but nobody's been able to stop it, so keep going and attacking that paint.
Davis has all 5 points for the Rebels in the second half, and the guy that has most of the points for the Tigers, Antonio Blakeney, will go back to the free throw line. Hermanavicius on the hack for the Rebels. Antonio Blakeney. Working on a 24-point night. Again, his career high game last year against the Gators, 32.
And Mike, this start to the second half is so important for LSU because they've had problems all year long. They were always coming from behind in the second half. And then last game, they finally got off to a good start against Arkansas, fell apart in the second half. Their goal was to try to put two good halves together. And right now, they've been playing some good ball. And the way this coaching staff's coaching them up over here, you would have no idea that they were a 1-11 team if we didn't have the record on the scoreboard.
No, and you go back to what Davis misfires on the jumper out of bounds to LSU. You go back to what Andy Kennedy told us this morning at shoot-around. He said, we don't want to get into a game of freelance, just everybody's playing free, running up and down, kind of a street ball type game. LSU can beat you in that kind of game. They have to dissect you a little bit more, have to play a little more disciplined. Otherwise, they could be upset.
Absolutely, and LSU's offense up to this point in the season hadn't been able to get them out of their defensive droughts. They used to be able to just outscore you, but they don't force as many turnovers as they have in years past, speaking of turning the ball over. But right now, Ole Miss has not had an answer for them defensively.
Davis, my goodness, he's just like an
Get an assist
energizer
for that?
bunny.
Yeah. Do you want the assist to the rebound, Terrence Davis?
One turnover, make it another now. Oh, Davis is ahead of the pack. They didn't see him. They find Neal on an open three. Too strong. Here comes Skylar Mays to Blakeney. Blakeney doubled. Back out to Mays. And Sampson measures up a three. Epps has been strong but had it stolen away by Terrence Davis. Kick out pass. Brooks lines up a three ball. And over the backboard, out of bounds.
You see Ole Miss, Terrence Davis just gets his own rebound, throws it off the black to himself. Basket, Moses Malone style. Padding those stats a little bit. And it's just still amazing. I mean, we showed the list of the guy. Terrence Davis didn't even average 2 points last year. And now he's just exploded onto the scene. And early in the year, it was DeAndre Burnett, who hadn't had a bad year, but he's had some injuries, hadn't been 100% throughout the course of the year, and Davis has stepped up.
Take your pick on who got that foul. Sampson got bumped a couple of times midair. A couple of free throws upcoming for LSU, already up by 6. They give the foul to Saiz, his second. I'll tell you one thing LSU has done a real good job of tonight. They've kept Saiz in check. 7 points, 5 rebounds. He's capable of much more than that. LSU has lost 11 straight games. The last win came at Missouri.
And I asked Johnny Jones today at shoot-around, I said, is your team still excited to play? How's your locker room? And he said, look, that really hadn't been an issue. Now, we played poor at times, but it hadn't been a lack of desire or effort or guys wanting to pack it in that just can't wait for the season to be over. They're excited to play, and they've shown that tonight.
Wap Reith just picked up his 4th foul. He's really been a non-factor in this game. Saiz, he had his man beat and just missed the left-handed layup.
He knew the double team was coming, so he tried to beat it quickly, which was the good read, but then he rushed the shot when he had an easy layup.
Wap Reith, a really good rim protector, averages 1.5 shot blocks a game. Might have gotten ahead of Saiz there. Another steal for Ole Miss. It's Brooks. 3-on-1. Brooks takes it all the way. Follow-up tap, no. That'll be in the cylinder. A goaltend, no basket.
Brooks takes it all the way in there. Was he going to get the roll? Gotta just let that one go if you're Terrence Davis.
Yeah, no question it was in the cylinder.
Can't fault the effort. Hustle beating the rest of the team down the court, but gotta let it go.
I'd like to see Brooks pass the ball in that spot. He had about a 4-on-1 break. Blakeney on a pull-up right between the eyes of Firmanovicius, and Blakeney now with 29 on pace for a new career high.
I mentioned the comparison of Steph Moody, but doesn't it remind you when he just rises up in elevations for that elevation with that three-point shot, it's extremely tough to affect his shot.
And there's the response by Terrence Davis. 21 now for Davis, coming off a career high 26. All 8 points in the second half for Davis. But just picked up a cheapie right there.
And that'll be his third, and foul trouble's been an issue, as you've alluded to earlier, Mike. And that's a tough call. But if you're Terrence Davis, you just can't afford that.
Yeah.
You've got 2 already. You have to be smarter than to put yourself in harm's way. Whether it's a foul or not doesn't matter.
You just get the feeling Ole Miss is going to have a hard time winning this game without Davis on the floor. Patterson, deep 2, no. Rebound pulled in by Tyree. Ahead to Davis, who lost it. Out of bounds to LSU. Davis thought he was fouled. Timeout on the floor. 7-point cushion for LSU. Antonio Blakeney feeling it. He's been red hot. 29 points for the sophomore. LSU on top of Ole Miss 61-54. The Bayou Bengals trying to snap an 11-game losing streak. The last victory coming in early January against Missouri. It's Valentine's Day. Hopefully you've had a great Valentine's Day with your loved one. That was a kind of a loving start to the season for LSU. They were 8-3 in non-conference play. That's a healthy relationship. That's a good start. Then Craig Victor. And they got a divorce with Craig Victor. He got dismissed from the team for violating team rules. He's a valuable post player, averaged 10.5 points, 7.6 rebounds. Speaking of rebounds, sometimes, you know, in the world of love, you have to have a rebound. Antonio Blakeney, he's rebounded well, and 16.5 points, 5.1 rebounds a game, and then 1-11 in SEC play, an 11-game losing streak. That has not been a healthy relationship. No Valentine's Day hearts or flowers during this streak at all.
Yeah, they're looking for that full heart tonight, though. I mean, these guys have played extremely hard. Yeah, we've got 2 teams in this league. Missouri and LSU have certainly had their challenges as a team, and I've been extremely impressed with the way Kim Anderson has kept his team fighting and competing, and the way Johnny Jones has his team prepared tonight against an Ole Miss team who honestly just has more to play for in terms of a postseason, but you wouldn't know it if you looked out there on the court.
And again, for Ole Miss, they simply cannot afford a home loss against LSU to have any shot at the NCAA tournament, and now another shot at a 3-point play, this time for Sampson.
We mentioned earlier, LSU doesn't settle for the perimeter. They like to attack, and Brandon Sampson will do that as well. Saiz puts his head down. What I don't like right now is the body language from the Ole Miss Rebels. I mean, after that happens, you need to come together, huddle up as a team. And right now, we call them palms up guys. When something happens, everybody puts their palms in there and like, well, that wasn't me, that wasn't my fault, that was you. Right now, they need more unity in Saiz. Even though he's not having his best night, he's got to be that guy to help bring them together. It can't just be Terrence Davis with his drives.
And Davis on the bench with those 3 fouls. Meanwhile, Burnett launches a 3 and hits it. Maybe that's exactly the guy you're talking about.
Yeah, Burnett certainly capable of exploding, and Andy Kennedy might not have wanted a track meet, but he's in for one. They're just going to have to win it this way.
It's been that kind of game. And another foul on Ole Miss.
If you don't close out the shooters quick in this game with a hand up, you are going to get burned. Both sides of the court. DeAndre Burnett is always looking to shoot the basketball. Has struggled field goal percentage-wise, but tonight he's starting to be back to his former self.
I mentioned the fouling. Ole Miss has already put LSU in the bonus with 10 minutes and 58 seconds remaining. A lot of talk about college basketball potentially doing what the women's game has already done. That's going to quarters, which would reset the fouls after each quarter. They're going to try segments, not quarters, but segments in the NIT.
Good job being official with it, but I'm all for it. I love what it's done to the women's game of just you know, sometimes you just got to copy what's working well. I like the fact that you get 4 buzzer beaters. That brings excitement to the game, the reset of fouls. But I think it also gives coaches a chance to recharge the team's batteries, make some adjustments, lineup changes that you just only get once. Right now at a halftime, I think 4 quarters would help the game tremendously. Plus, the women's games, they're ending about 10 minutes early, and fans and everybody else appreciates a quicker pace to a game.
I think there's a lot of good that comes out of the 4-quarter format. The more coaches you and I have a chance to talk to, I think several of them are more than intrigued by it. A number of them have told us they'd love to see it.
And as Rick Barnes has said earlier this week in his press conference, he feels like it should be a global sport with similar rules. You have it whether you're playing overseas or in the NBA. And you see Rasheed Brooks come off that screen, you got to make him put the ball on the ground. He is a catch-and-shoot guy.
Another offensive rebound for Epps, but he traveled after he got it. Epps with a double-double tonight, his 2nd of the year, but a turnover after.
Ole Miss has several catch-and-shoot guys. Brooks is one of them, so if you're Brandon Sampson coming off that screen, you got to be attached to his hip. And if he catches that ball, the hand has to be up. If you raise it after he started the shooting motion, you're too late.
Still 10 minutes to go, but through 30 minutes of play, this has got to be one of the best games LSU has played all year. Davis back in the game. Davis for 3. Blakeney on a pull-up. That's his shot, that mid-range pull-up. Awfully good for Blakeney normally.
Yeah, even when he misses, it's a good-looking attempt.
Neal with the hoop in the horn. What a shot by Cullen Neal.
Cullen Neal, more known for his 3-point shooting, but that time the and one just throws it up. Doesn't even see the goal, but puts it up there with the left hand. Doesn't matter how you get it as long as it goes in. Comes at a big moment as the Rebels try to climb back into this game.
A chance to cut it to a 3-point game. He does. Maybe that'll ignite the crowd a little bit, which has been rather silent. Now you hear them on their feet here in Oxford.
They were such a big part of that Auburn comeback.
Absolutely.
I mean, they cut the lead early enough in that game to where the crowd could be a factor for a large part of the second half. And there's no question it elevated the play of this Rebel roster.
Illegal screen.
It's a simple horns play. Epps just has to be solid there and not clip them, put that hip out. You can be shoulder width apart, but if you get too wide, the refs are going to call it even if you're stationary.
That is a play that you see so much in college basketball. It's simple fundamentals, setting a proper screen. Neal got a little greedy on that 3.
That's where you got to control your emotions. Neal gets the good play on offense with the and one, picks up the foul over here. He was feeling it, but you got to have a smarter shot selection when you're trying to cut this lead and get it back.
Shot clock down to 5. Sampson on a drive. Saiz tried to wall up, but they got him on a foul.
Saiz really frustrated because he's been caught a couple of times with that. Sampson, when you have this type of athlete that can get in the lane and avoid the charge, boy, it makes life tough on the big man down low. And Sampson prefers going to that right hand. And again, when you have the benefit of that athleticism, you take the contact, and you continue to rise and be able to finish. And we've got some tremendous athletes in this game.
And, you know, again, risk versus reward. Now Saeed's going to have to sit for a lengthy amount of time with those 4 fouls. Was it really worth it? Obviously not. Ole Miss is going to have to play shorthanded. Neal draws a reaching foul on Mays. First foul on Mays, 7th-team foul, and a 1-and-1 upcoming for Cohen Neal. Cohen Neal, an 84% free throw shooter. And it's back to a 4-point game. And Neal will get a breather. Firmanovicius, Davis, Hyman, Brooks, and the freshman Brean Tyree, the 5 on the floor for Ole Miss. Blakeney's been the man for LSU with 29 points. He's over in the corner. That time Blakeney never touched it on that possession.
Yeah, Ole Miss went to that 1-3-1 that can convert into a 2-3 depending on where the ball goes, but it was the first time they've really shown that tonight. They're trying everything to keep the ball out of the paint, whether it's Sampson or Blakeney.
Davis, jab step, launched the 3, got it right in the face of Blakeney. 1-point game, 14-5 run for the Rebels. Blakeney in traffic, got his own rebound, lost it out of bounds. It will be LSU basketball when we return. Ole Miss creeping back in this game. Cohen Neal has been a big reason why.
Cohen Neal coming off his best game as a Rebel against Auburn, and he is not disappointed, but Antonio Blakeney, when he's hot, he's hot. Pulling up for 3, he knows when he has a mismatch. Bottom.
By Allstate.
Well, it all starts with the double team on Saiz, forces the turnover. Skylar Mays pushing it up, and Aaron Epps there to finish. Look at all the purple jerseys beating Ole Miss down the floor. Ole Miss has to have a greater sense of urgency. But coming into this game, it was Saiz, who's known as Mr. Double-Double. That's what he averages on the year. Who would have thought Aaron Epps is the man with 11 points and 11 rebounds? I mean, if I had to say anybody would battle Saiz for the double-double, it would have been Dwap Reed.
Right.
But Aaron Epps, the guy averaging 6 points, 3 rebounds, has silently had a huge impact on this game.
Epps with just his second double-double. Saiz has 17 on the year, but he's got 4 fouls, so he'll be on the bench for a while. LSU trying to snap an 11-game losing streak. Last win coming against Missouri. They have led for most of this game with 7:21 to go. Up by 1 point on Thursday. A women's hoop doubleheader. Gamecocks and Vanderbilt at 7. Ole Miss and Auburn will fall. Both games streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN. It'll be LSU basketball. Patterson, the trigger man. LSU sets it up with plenty of time on the shot clock. Ole Miss going to stay in a zone. Blakeney gets it. Rise and fire. Tyree on the rebound.
Much better job by Ole Miss, bringing the help over Sooner, not leaving Firmanovicius on an island with Blakeney. Good job by Terrence Davis.
Nice pass. Hyman with the finish off the feed from Davis. And Ole Miss has taken the lead for the first time since 37-36 in the first half.
Where LSU has to keep their composure. They're a young team, but they need to show some leadership. They've got plenty of scorers, but who's going to be the leader for this Tiger team? Craig Victor was that guy before he got kicked off the team, of course, and now that Ole Miss, with the basket by Hyman, has claimed this lead.
And once again, Terrence Davis has been the guy. 24 points, 6 rebounds in 21 minutes of work as Wade Sims just fouled out for LSU. it's not quite a 23-point deficit that Ole Miss had in their last game against Auburn. But they have been kind of sluggish tonight. They've really have struggled to get into a flow on offense, and defensively too much of Blakeney and Skylar Mays. But now all of a sudden, once again, Ole Miss, they just keep digging and chopping and scratching. And now they've got a 2-point lead.
We called a game here against Tennessee where they made a big second half run as well. Way back in the year, earlier in the year, they were down almost 30 at halftime. Middle Tennessee State rallied, came back, fell short in that game, but just another example of how the Rebels are never out of it. Not that LSU ever had a commanding lead necessarily, but the Rebels, if you're patient, they'll come around for you sooner than later.
Meanwhile, Antonio Blakeney hasn't come around in a while. He hasn't scored in over 6 minutes, but that man, Skylar Mays, has. He's had his own fine performance tonight. He only averages 7 points a game. He's got 16, and we're tied. Davis on a step-back three. Are you kidding me? Where has that come from? Over and back. Turnover, Ole Miss basketball. LSU thought it was tipped.
Mays with the big-time three, but it didn't last long because Terrence Davis, he's got this super green light under Andy Kennedy. If you're a scorer and you play for Andy Kennedy, you're going to enjoy your career.
Absolutely. He will encourage you to shoot another new career high, back-to-back new career highs for Terrence Davis, who gets bumped and fouled here. No continuation. He'll go to the line for a 1-and-1, 19 fouls on LSU. Blakeney picked up his second foul. And to say that Terrence Davis has had a highly improved year from last year to this would be the understatement of the year. I mean, he was basically a non-factor all last season. I would say, take it a step further, in the last 6 weeks, his game has improved dramatically.
I think it was by necessity, as DeAndre Burnett was out with the injury, not 100% when he came back. They needed even more scoring from Davis, and got his career high in the second half of 26 points. So when you look at the past really 3 halves that he's played, if you don't count the first half of the Auburn game where he's out with foul trouble, this guy's got 54 in his last 60 minutes.
23-8 run for Ole Miss. Tigers need a bucket badly. Step back three. Yes, Skylar Mays is growing up before our eyes. 19 for the freshman.
You look across the SEC at the promising freshman point guards: Jared Harper, Lamar Peters, Jordan Bone, Breon Tyree, and you have to put Skylar Mays on that list. Of course, De'Aaron Fox, but I'm talking about people that'll be here next year.
Terrence Davis again. Nobody can stop him on that power dribble. He's got 31. And free throws upcoming for Dwop Reith. Dwop Reith, who's been extremely quiet tonight, just 2 points on 1 of 4 shooting. A young man who's had a long journey, which started in the Sudan, then went to Perth, Australia. Started playing basketball at Lee Junior College in Baytown, Texas, and on to Baton Rouge. Too strong on the second. 3-point game, 4.5 to play. Is there any question number 3 in White's going to touch it?
I think you got to give him the ball at some point. You know, just don't fall in love with the 3 if you're Terrence Davis. I know you've hit a couple, but keep attacking the rim.
Almost a steal by Blakeney. Davis says, give it to me.
And he wants it up there at half court so he can create that speed and momentum and have a longer drive. But there's Breon Tyree, and at some point LSU's just got to stop the penetration. They've been unable to do that all season long.
foul called. And that's going to go against LSU.
It's a game of run, and this is a team of runs, whether it's circus shots with the and-one or garbage baskets down low or brilliant three-pointers. This Rebel team knows how to fight back.
So to speak, those are all former All-Americans, names like Newman, Barnes, Glass, of course Keith Carter, who's in the building tonight, Ansu Cisse, some great players, and who knows, maybe one day Terrence Davis, who's only a sophomore, he might make it to that wall, Dane Bradshaw.
If he makes a jump like he did from his freshman to sophomore year into his junior year, they're going to have to get a whole statue for him, because this guy's been unbelievable. Whether it's shooting the ball from the outside or his bread and butter in transition, people cannot keep this guy out of the lane. No matter how hard you try, they've got to find some type of just bulldog defender to keep him out there. But as soon as he gets an angle, he's so hard to stay in front of, and any type of contact just bounces right off of him.
Saiz at the free throw line, rattles the first one in. Would you believe it's a 7-point lead for Ole Miss? I mean, Ole Miss just could not get out of its own way for much of this game. LSU putting together one of its best performances of the year. And now, here we sit under 4 minutes to go. And Ole Miss has its largest lead of the night, a 7-point advantage.
And the Rebels must protect this lead, because if they have any hopes at the postseason, they have to close this game out.
Reith, probably not the guy you want shooting in this spot. Where is Antonio Blakeney? He has not scored a bucket since the 12:47 mark of this half.
And that's twice the Rebels have gone to that 1-3-1, and both times LSU has forgotten about Blakeney over in the corner.
He's got 29 points. Number two's got to touch it. Brooks lines up a three. Got it! 10-point lead for the Rebels.
And that was the best execution Saiz has shown all night. He was patient when the double team came, kicked it out just in time to his shooter.
Timeout called by LSU with 3 minutes remaining.
LSU's done a really nice job with their double teams. This time Saiz was ready for it, and he made the simple play. He didn't try to beat it with a dribble or a cross-court pass. Just kick it out to your open shooter, and Brooks does what he does best: catch, shoot.
We talked about what this game means for Ole Miss potentially. Right now, our man Joe Lenardi has the SEC with 4 currently in: Kentucky, Florida, South Carolina, and Arkansas is walking a tightrope right now. The Razorbacks need to keep winning. And a number of bubble teams in this league. You talk about Tennessee as one of them. You talk about Georgia. And if Ole Miss can get
I'm talking about Georgia. If nobody else will, I'm talking
Dane
about.
Bradshaw is still buying
Georgia's
stock.
Coming. Georgia's coming.
But Ole Miss will be quick to point out, if they can finish up strong, they've got a game at Arkansas. They've got South Carolina here. If they can pick up a couple of those wins, they've already got a solid RPI in the 50s. Their strength of schedule is in the 30s. Ole Miss is not out of the discussion, but they'd have to win here tonight.
That's been such an improvement within the SEC, is the fact that there's more quality win opportunities available outside of just Kentucky or just Florida. There he is again. I mean, it's unbelievable. He just knifes and slivers through everywhere. Yes, he's foul prone on the defensive end, but he avoids more charges than anybody I've seen in the SEC.
34 points as he continues to tack on to a career high. Coming up on the 2-minute mark, big three for LSU. Right now, the Tigers can't get anything going on offense. Where has this game gone for LSU?
LSU led the conference in steals a year ago. They never got good defensive stops, but they could turn people over and lead them to turnover and lead to points. But they just don't have that luxury this year to bail them out of defensive droughts. And there's your man.
Davis, when he's not scoring, he threads the needle. Saiz, a three-point opportunity.
Penetration kills, and when you can get in the lane like Terrence Davis does, it opens it up for your teammates. Great dump off to Saiz, brings 2 defenders over. Saiz patient, jump hook. Not his greatest game, but he's stuck with it. He's made some big plays for Ole Miss down the stretch.
Second player to foul out for LSU is Reith. Saiz, the senior from Madrid. A chance to make it a 15-point lead.
I did not see this extending to a 15-point lead with 2 minutes to go. And it's a shame for LSU because they put maybe 30 to 32 minutes of their best play of the season together and then just unable to capitalize on either end of the floor.
LSU led this game 64-54. And over the last 9 minutes, Ole Miss has gone on a 37-12 run. And again, Antonio Blakeney has not scored a bucket since the 12:47 mark. Sampson, a little bit of a force, takes it strong, and it will be Ole Miss basketball with 1:23 to play, and the Rebels can smell a victory, which would be their 7th in league play. Ole Miss trying to improve to 7-6 in the conference. And you see the second half, the last 2 games against Auburn and LSU, it is an entirely different team.
I think it's safe to call them a second half team, at least in the past 2 games.
-23 to Auburn, -11 tonight to LSU. Terrence Davis, remember the name, a rising star in the Southeastern Conference, an unconventional star. Terrence Davis is an unconventional player that nobody wants to defend.
Just so strong. I mean, I said it earlier, but contact means nothing to him. People just fall off from left and right. Sometimes he gets the whistle, sometimes he doesn't. Regardless, he's finished.
One for 2 for Saiz. 6 games this year now for Ole Miss of 90 points or more. They have been explosive in this second half. Now under a minute to go, they can smell blood in the water for LSU. It's going to be 12 consecutive defeats.
Another quiet ride home for LSU, but you can't doubt their effort. I mean, there was some poor play down the stretch, but these guys came to play. They came with a purpose. I think Johnny Jones had his team prepared as best he could.
I got to give it up to Antonio Blakeney, even though he's been awfully quiet of late. 29 points. Looked like he was certain to have a career night. Now that's just a frustration play. Skylar Mays just made up his mind at about 30 feet from the basket that he was going to go straight toward it, no matter who was in his way.
That's part of the learning process, too. He had Blakeney in the corner. I know with 28 seconds to go down 16, maybe not the time to nitpick, but still, you got to know where the best option is on the court. Mays is a pass-first type guard that I think has the potential to have a very high IQ as a basketball player in this league.
Best option for Ole Miss is this man. And now he's dropping dimes. Another one to Saiz. And how about a steal? Ahead to Furmanovicius. Got it on the dunk.
Andy Kennedy tried to be a good sport, tell him not to go. He was upset at his team. Can't be upset at the comeback, though.
Andy Kennedy and Ole Miss end the game on an 18-0 run. 96-76 your final score, as Ole Miss improves to 7-6 in conference play. Dave Bradshaw, some final thoughts.
Ole Miss still alive in the tournament hunt. Might not be on the bubble, but they're trying to make their way there. Big win tonight.
That's it for us here in Oxford. Up next, it's SEC Now. Good night from Mississippi.